Costa Rica is a dream for nature lovers, and La Fortuna is right at the heart of it. Best known for Arenal Volcano, this town is packed with adventure, from hiking through rainforests and lava fields to sloth spotting and natural hot springs. In this video, we'll share with you some of the best things to do in La Fortuna, Costa Rica. Our first day started at the center of town at Parque de La Fortuna. This manicured square is surrounded by everything you'll need, including souvenir shops, restaurants, and tour agencies. From here, we found ourselves oddly drawn to the Parroquia San Juan Bosco. Unlike some of the more impressive churches we visited around Central America, this small church is quite plain and modest. Nevertheless, on clear days, you might be able to take photos of the Arenal Volcano in the background. Inside, the atmosphere is peaceful, and there are some beautiful stained glass windows and murals to admire. If you find yourself needing an escape from the Costa Rican heat, this is a nice spot. Another stop worth making is the Chocolate Fusion Cafe nearby. Featuring an amazing array of desserts, as well as a large range of chocolates, it's a cool place to enjoy a cup of coffee. However, we came to La Fortuna for nature, so later that afternoon, we walked to the Bogarin Trail, a gem for spotting Costa Rica's famous sloths. There's some online debate about whether one needs a guide, but we decided to hire one and didn't regret it. Our guide Randall has an eager eye for wildlife, pointing out frogs, birds, and of course, sloths. He even helped us take photos through his telescope. Without him on the telescope, it would have been impossible for us to spot most of these creatures on our own. Now here's a small tip. We found the 4 PM time slot to be the perfect time for a tour. The weather is starting to cool down, and by 5:30 PM, it begins to get dark, and you can see some nocturnal creatures too. It wasn't cheap, but as our tour turned out to be essentially a private tour, it was great value for us. For our second day, we had booked a tour package that would take us to attractions around the La Fortuna area. We chose to book our tours in person, which saved us about $10 per pax compared to booking online. However, it's a good idea to book early if you have a bigger group, given how there are limited slots per tour. So the next morning, our first stop was the famous La Fortuna waterfall. From the entrance, you'll need to walk down about 500 steps, but it's entirely paved with benches and water coolers along the way. There's even a washroom and changing room here. The waterfall is quite beautiful to see in person and worth the climb up and down. You can usually swim at the base, but on our visit, the currents were too strong. Instead, we swam in another section nearby. The water is calm, cold, and crystal clear water with tiny fish swimming around. Next up was the Arenal Volcano National Park. After signing an ominous waiver form, we followed our guide through a dense rainforest to the base of the 7,000-year-old Arenal Volcano. This is one of the most active volcanoes in the Americas and has erupted multiple times, almost daily from 1968. However, they say it hasn't had an eruption since 2010, so that must mean it's safe, right? Right? Anyway, if you're planning to hike to the top of Arenal Volcano, unfortunately that is very illegal. We did, however, hike up 2 hours to this really cool lava field, which is one of the main viewpoints to see the volcano up close. It's pretty surreal to walk around the lava flows and actually touch it by hand. But unfortunately, we couldn't see the volcano's peak at all. Clouds completely covered the top of it during our visit and refused to budge. This is apparently a regular occurrence, so you have to be emotionally prepared for something similar if you are here. In terms of wildlife, we hardly saw any during the hike, which made us glad that we chose to do the Bogarin Trail the day before. However, at our lunch stop, a surprisingly brave coati approached from the wild. It clearly knew this was a good spot to get food from generous tourists, although we wondered if that did it more harm than good. Once we were done with our hike, our guide poured all of us shots of moonshine to celebrate that we were still alive. And now slightly tipsy, we headed to our final stop, Chollín. Often called a hot spring, this is more like a river featuring warm water thanks to the geothermal energy from Arenal Volcano. There are a couple of fancy hot spring resorts around La Fortuna, but if you're not willing to splash the cash, then Chollín is a nice but casual spot to visit instead. To get a sense of how casual this place is, the entrance to this local hotspot is literally on the side of the road. It's totally free to use, and you'll see many local families marinating in the warm waters. Just be warned, there are no changing rooms or toilets, and you have to watch your belongings like a hawk. At the river, it's good to keep to the areas where locals are, as that's usually where the water is warmest yet safe. It's also best to wear water shoes if you have them, because the ground can be quite painful to walk on barefooted. We decided not to visit the Hanging Bridges, another popular day trip from La Fortuna. It costs an additional $50 per person, and there are many other places that have a similar experience. Food-wise, La Fortuna has everything from sushi to pizza, but prices can be quite steep in the town center. Further away from the center, we found Soda Viquez, a casual eatery serving traditional Costa Rican food. A delicious plate like this cost me about $7 and the friendly owner even gave us a free dessert. In terms of where to stay, we loved our private Airbnb room right next to the church, at $103 for 2 nights, with air conditioning, an ensuite bathroom, and a shared kitchen. There are plenty of cafes and mini-marts within walking distance too. Plus, we were only a 20-minute walk from the Bogarin Trail. The next morning, we headed to the beautiful Manuel Antonio in Costa Rica. Check out our next video to see what we did there.